Welcome to the internet.
Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Imaginary Movie Podcast, a podcast where we put on our 15-year-old girl hats and dive into some mid-aughts erotic fiction for all intents and purposes. My name's David, and they're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together kooky. They're the Cullen family.
Very nice, very nice. Not often we get a musical introduction to this show, and
it's always me, and it's always off key, baby.
Yeah, I think musical in air quotes.
I can't sing.
My name's Sam, and Twilight, featuring my favorite actor, the scenery of Washington State.
And I'm Ross. Sam, Dave, say something to take my mind off this terrible dialogue.
There's nothing you could say about this film.
Honestly.
That is just not interrupted by constant scoffs from every actor.
I didn't notice that as much as you did. So just
go back.
Just
right. Listen.
Say it right now.
Listen.
We, three men in our 30s, we sat down and watched Twilight from 2008. That's right. The pop culture juggernaut.
Phenomenon. Go back and listen.
For some reason.
Go back and listen to it, because I can't get over the scoffs. I can't get over it. Kristen Stewart is doing it. Anna Kendrick's doing it. Every single teenage girl in the world apparently goes after every single fucking sentence. Like, it's just, please stop. Please stop. But yes, we watched Twilight. Why, Ross? Why did we watch Twilight? Tell us.
So Amy watched it, and I wanted to play PlayStation, and I had
watched it recently.
Yeah.
Out of choice.
Within a couple of she did. Yeah, I watched it by attendance, I suppose. Through marriage
by default.
Yeah,
technically present.
Oh my God. And then when we got the text saying, okay, guys, what are we watching tonight? And I was like, I can pull something out of it here. I can salvage this horrible experience.
Content generation.
And at least make it productive.
Yeah.
Because is that a bit like people who've been assaulted go out and assault people, like to lessen their own pain? That sounds like what you did there, Ross.
Well, that's a broad metaphor, but I like.
First of all, that sounds very appealing. Second of all, didn't know that was a thing. Writing that down. Third of all, yes.
Now, let's off the back, right? We are not the target audience for this film. We were not the target audience for this film in 2008 when it came out. So we need to use our fantastic ability to empathize, to really understand where the audience is coming from for this. We need to do that for 10 or 12 minutes, and then we can really trash this movie, because it is quite bad in quite a lot of ways, isn't it?
We absolutely do need to do that. Before we do, though, however, had we seen this before? As it turns out, I have seen a Twilight film before. I don't know if you remember, Ross. We helped a friend move. There was promise of pizza for helping said friend move. And then we ended up watching a Twilight movie, and it was all very objectionable.
Did you even get pizza? Or
there was pizza, yes.
Right, well, there we go.
I believe.
And this is going to make it sound like this occurred when we were 11.
What did you watch?
It must have been the second one, because there were werewolves in it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So,
and I can't imagine that we would watch the third. I don't know if the fucking last 17 of these were out.
I don't know why you watched the second
one.
So
I watched this movie thinking. So when the werewolves come in, like the whole movie up until the very end, I was like, well, so when are the werewolves? When does this guy get his hair cut and then he's going to turn into a sexy werewolf? What's happening?
This sets up, and I think actually we should maybe take us through the plot of this, because there's quite a lot of different things to pin on, like the werewolves and all that other stuff. But to me, my biggest complaint about this movie is, yes, it's bad and the dialogue is atrocious and the actors are really, really poorly directed and blah, blah, blah. We can go on to that. But my biggest problem is that the film, it almost expects and demands that you know exactly what everything that's going on in the movie from minute one. Like this film is targeted purely at people who have already seen the book, read the book. It must be because we bring on Jacob, and he's got long hair, and there's like this weird energy going on between him and the vampires, and it's all very strange. And the movie's like, meh, not until way, way, way later on. The movie doesn't explain it. They don't explain even that they're vampires really until much, much later on. And so you basically spend the whole time, especially the first hour or so of this film, just kind of watching Kristen Stewart like just kind of do stuff. Like there's nothing happens. She's miserable in this.
You are
nothing
right. This
happens.
Movie is absolutely empty of like events.
Storytelling,
and even less so of like events that are relevant. I would say, Sam, that like I think obviously knowing that he's a vampire, I do think the movie kind of like, if you didn't know that, literally you'd have to be 2008, like the opening weekend when this wasn't in the public consciousness. Like I do think because you got the voiceovers and you would spend that first hour scratching your heads going, what is this movie about? Why am I watching it? But like I do think that it obviously we learn as Kristen Stewart learns that he's a vampire. I mean, personally, I'd be like, so they're the vampire kids, right? So they're vampires. Yeah. Those are the Lost Boys, right? Okay,
cool. Guys, welcome Dave to the class. Dave, this is everyone. Why is that guy so fucking pasty? What's going on with his eyes? It's a beautiful day outside. Why is this guy fucking shining? No one else asking these questions?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly what level of sunlight activates the shining? Because when it's sunny, they're not at school. Every day it's sunny. Every day it's sunny in the entire year.
You guys know what UV is, right? You know, because it's not a bright sunny day. There's still UV, right?
What you want to add like science to this fucking bizarre? No, it doesn't make any sense.
Hey, you with the perfect jawline and fantastic hair. What the fuck's your deal?
Yeah.
Also, the eyeliner and the lip gloss and the colored contact lenses.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. Channeling my inner audience. So, I mean, it's for, like you said, Sam, people who read the book or preteen girls, right?
Yeah,
that's
what
it is.
But we should be able to go into a film and understand it and figure out what's going on and not feel like we have to. Now, probably, I think one of the best examples of that is Lord of the Rings, which in a wonderfully succinct 8 or 9 minutes in at the start of the movie gives us the prologue and gives us everything we need to know. And that's actually what I think this movie could really benefit from, is like, give us a prologue, give us 5 minutes where we say, in the beginning, the vampires and the werewolves hate each other, and the vampire and just give us front load a little bit of storytelling so that when we go into the world, we can actually like go in with the tools and be prepared. Now, obviously, I kind of knew the story of this because of the cultural osmosis that we are infected with. But I just think like this is a really, really annoying film just from that point of view. And that straight away gets me off on a bad foot. And as we go through the plot, which is what we should do next, you just see all of these examples where you're like, what? Why? What? Who is, what's the reason for this? And obviously there is a reason. And obviously like, oh, they live in Washington State because it's cloudy. You're like, cool. What does that got to do with anything? Oh, an hour and 45 minutes in, he's shiny. Great. Okay, now I kind of, and you're like, so it was all of this payoff, but no setup whatsoever throughout this film. Like, and that I think is just,
I wouldn't even say
dissatisfying.
I would just like, I wasn't confused watching this. I was bored, certainly bored, out of my absolute mind. But I was never confused because I think the writing is so basic, and I don't mean that in the pop culture term. I mean literally basic. Ones and zeros. Like the writing is so simple that like there's no nuance. It's not like a more we've watched the more confusing vampire movies. Like the Underworld movie is more confusing as to what the fuck is going on. Like this movie, I think we've done that podcast. Even Blade has got more confusing as to what is going on. But I know exactly what's going on. This girl's at high school. For some reason, she's talking like she survived the fucking Armenian genocide. honestly, and the big trauma in her life is that her parents are divorced and she's had to move.
Yeah.
Um,
Which, okay, sad, but people have got it worse, sweetheart.
But let's
they have,
let's
but
go
then
on.
the whole first half of the movie, up until we have the revelation that he's a vampire, and then she's like, "That's hot." Basically, is the theme. She's like, "Yeah, I'm super into that, mate." And all the way up until that is just her being like, "Is this dude a vampire or what? Is this dude a vampire? Oh, maybe he's a vampire." Like, that's just that from minute fucking 2. You're like, "Oh, so they're vampires. So they're all vampires."
Yeah.
And that's exactly the type of cognition that you need to have had to. No, I'm not saying that I didn't know they were vampires. Even if I'd come into it blind, like it's a
what? Vampires?
But what I'm saying
In Twilight?
is that the movie does not like address any of this. It doesn't give us any of that. It just shovels everything in just one big slop, and then you kind of like feeling your way through it for the rest of the film until all of a sudden you find a big chunky thing. You know what's that? Oh, it's this plot. I found it.
A more competent movie would
there's a metaphor.
What a visual!
A more competent movie would have like tested it with like, those are the Cullen kids. Like, no one likes them. There's something wrong with it. Do you know what I mean? It would have peppered it with more that kind of like. Have you seen the film Lost
Mystery? The what film? What? Sorry,
Lost Boys.
No.
Yes.
Well, the vampires in that film. Like, initially, you just think they're like, well, obviously you know the vampires, but like initially, the main characters just think they're like these teenagers who go around like smashing shit up and stuff, and it's this like slow reveal that they're vampires, like this kind of like, but
mystery,
as the audience, but like the slow
intrigue.
tease out to the characters in the movie. Whereas in this movie, Kristen Stewart quite immediately is like, there's something off with that guy, and then he's a vampire quite clearly, quite early on.
Let's do a plot summary and let's dive into the plot of this, because I just think we're going to uncover so much when we actually like delve into the writing decisions of this movie. I'd also like to talk about vampires in general, and I want to talk about Stephanie Meyer and where this came from, and like the long tail impact that this has had on our culture, 50 Shades, etc. So let's keep all that in mind. But in Twilight, Bella Swan moves to a small town in the Pacific Northwest, where she falls in love with Edward Cullen, a mysterious classmate who reveals himself to be a 108-year-old vampire. Now,
wouldn't it have been amazing, by the way? Wouldn't it have been amazing if this film had felt the need to show us at all that these two fell in love with each other? They tell us it. They tell us it a lot. They tell us that they're in love a lot, but they don't feel the need to have them develop any kind of relationship. Every conversation they have seems to be about him being a vampire.
Well, it's her being inexplicably attracted to him, and it's him, for some reason, being attracted to her, but not wanting to be attracted to her, but just can't resist.
I can see why he's attracted to her. She's like a bacon double cheeseburger. He's a vampire. Yeah.
I mean, let's shoot from the hip. Let's get this out of the way. This is like this is like a promotional video for grooming, right? We all agree there, right? 100%. Like it is
100%.
It is fucking astounding. It's like I was watching this, and like I'll be on my phone, and then I'll come back to it, and I'll be like, wait a minute, when something pop into my head, one of the things popped into my head is like, bing, vampires age really slowly. That's like a common thing. And I was like, is he older than he looks in this? And Amy went, yes. How old is he? 108. And how old is she supposed to be? 17. Oh, like,
but it's okay. Because he looks. Go on.
So there's a couple of facets to this. Number one, no, but they wait until she's 18 before they bang. Right. The dude was in her fucking bedroom watching her sleep.
This doesn't happen in this, though.
No, the next movie.
Yeah, he's in her bedroom.
No, they don't bang until the next movie, right? Carry on.
No, they don't bang until she's 18. But he watches her sleep, and they embraced one another well before she's fucking 18. So, but you know what I mean. You could say
embraced each other.
If she's awake,
sin.
Bit killer. Will you fucking wait?
Dave, Jesus Christ! I'm
allowed to do my own bits.
So you're not. Get the point out, Ross.
You need to go through the screening process. You have to run them by Sam and me first before we start recording.
It's a very complicated procedure, but it works.
Fucking Dale in HR ruins everything.
So yeah, they embrace, and so that's bad enough. But like you're saying, well, if she's a week before turning 18, who's to say? But so maybe you could disregard that. Okay, maybe. But then you have the thing, even if she's 18, even if she's legal age, the thing is that this guy in the movie, he's 108 years old. This guy has lifetimes, plural, of experience of relationships. He is in a position of power. And basically, and is able to manipulate this girl, but she wants him, so that's fine, that's okay. And then this guy doesn't have the fucking he thinks it's wrong because he's vampire and she's human. It's wrong because she's a kid, bro. What is convenient
doing?
This lends itself to kind of like the core problem with this movie, which is that, and I think the reason why it's so successful. I have a point here. She is, in the context of the movie, like, and the story and the writing, and I have looked into the book and things, and that seems very similar. She is the sexual aggressor, and he's a quote unquote good guy because he resists it, and that's kind of like how I think this movie maybe appealed to that mass market. Because I don't know about the rest of these movies, but this is quite a chaste movie.
Yeah,
like there's not loads of like gratuitous
It has
petting.
to be.
I'm going somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere with this. I think that's a factor, but I think that also comes from the book, where it's like it comes from this very kind of like traditionalist Christian outlook that no sex before marriage and things like that. But it appeals to children who don't have like a full understanding about like sex and relationships. Where a 13-year-old, most 13-year-olds absolutely would watch this and think this is how love works, in theory.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it had this mass appeal, because it's very simplistic. It appeals to that kind of like right-wing thing. And also there's no, we can talk about Stephanie Meyer in a minute, but like I said, there's no like overt sex in this movie. And because she's quote unquote the aggressor, he's, again, you watch the movie, I think if you turn the sound off, it would suddenly skew a lot more in him grooming this woman. But the words they are saying are, I want you, from Bella, and him saying, no, it's wrong, whatever. But if you turn the sound off, suddenly he's a fucking supernatural monster who's saying to this woman, like, who's just like luring this woman in and tricking her. And if it turned out he was a baddie, suddenly it's a different story, isn't it?
There's a few things there that I think you've touched on, Dave. Number one, right? We're not the audience for this. But I think this film, the reason that it was successful is that it tapped into some kind of like teen female sexuality. So, and again, we have no clue. We're not going to try and uncover that. But there is something here that I think that Stephanie Meyer, who was with influenced heavily as a Mormon, and she said this was like that was her biggest influence. So that's a bit red flag. But anyway, I think there is something about teen sexuality, female teen sexuality, that actually translates into something that people like, and that in itself, I think you kind of once you think about it in that sense, and you detach from it and go, well, we have no fucking clue what teen girls find sexy. So maybe the other thing is that this is not anything new, really. Like all of the problematic stuff that we are discussing here is just vampires. We've been having awkward fucking sex with vampires.
Just men in Hollywood.
No, but it's not. It's, I think it's no. I think there is something here that is about what women desire, and women like vampires. Like it's a thing that is historically, it keeps coming over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And when we see it in the Vampire Diaries, we see it in this, we see it throughout history of vampires being this like, I mean, they're literally biting and drinking people's blood, but vampires are sexy, and there is a sexual element that runs all throughout this. Now, go find a better podcast that's really going to dive into that. Rather than
you're in the wrong space, son.
30-year-old men who have no clue what teen girls like. But this
thank
film,
God, right? Yeah. Thank fucking God.
Not fucking talk
we
to a
don't have
teenager.
any idea what teen girls like, but it's like quite well documented that power dynamic and that power imbalance, especially.
Yes.
But the
People find
power-
it sexy, not just teenage girls,
Yes, exactly.
but people, for better or for worse. And obviously, it's abused here, left, right, and everywhere. But like, there's a reason that, like, we mentioned 50 Shades of Grey already, and that takes this and basically strips away all the vampire stuff and just makes it like a troubling
And
relationship.
all of the subtlety and just
Well-
turns it into literal.
all the subtlety that exists
Yeah.
in Twilight. That's right.
I know.
I'm using the word subtlety.
I am not. I know exactly what I'm saying because
All
it
the
took
subtlety, as in a single use of it. One subtlety.
You know.
One, please.
Imagine some custard that's been left out for a little bit too long, and that little thin layer on the top, it's just peeled, just taking that off, and what we're left with is just this horrible. Now, you have to go back to Stephanie Meyer, though. You have to go back to these books because these, like the origin story of these, is just unbelievable. She literally said that
Much like Joseph Smith.
yes, that this idea
She read it on
came-
golden tablets in a hat.
Yeah, no. This idea came to her in a dream, and you think, "Oh, wow! You dreamed this amazing, innovative, novel idea that a teenage girl falls in love with a vampire. You absolute genius!" And then for some reason, she was given like. She was given a massive book deal, and the reason is because she didn't understand like the teen literature genre very well, and she wrote 3 full-length books as opposed to a kind of half a small a small. So the publishers were like, "Oh, this woman." I mean, I don't know, but again, there's an audience for this.
Yeah.
And that is what I find so fascinating: is that actually, when you strip away a lot of what's here, there is almost nothing novel about it. There is very poor acting. Like, some of the filmmaking is all right. And again, I think like the scenery of Washington State to add so much to this film. It's unbelievable. And yet, there's a popularity and there's a 5-movie fucking trawl and Michael Sheen and blah, blah, blah. All that comes on that is unaccountable. And I think we just don't have the empathy to understand why this is popular. And yet it was.
I think it's when it's written, like, I think all you're saying is absolutely true. But I would say that, like, the vampire genre, we will get back into that because I definitely have
hate
thoughts. I'm
vampires.
certain I'll disagree with. Yeah, we've talked about this a bit before, I think. Whereas I probably come down on the line of like I like them as a plot device. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think it's maybe also that it came out in 2008, kind of like, which is maybe like the very start of kind of the boom of social media and like, the internet connectivity. I sound a million years old when I'm saying things like this, but like before 2008, this book would have come out, like a few thousand people would have read it and really, really enjoyed it. And there would have been on really niche message boards, but it didn't. The book came out in 2005 and it just exploded because, like you said, it's young adult fiction. So the fact that I think Stephanie Meyer is like, I think quite repressed. The sexual stuff in the books, by all accounts, is quite like repressed and very simplistic.
Shock.
No, but because it's not like a lot of vampire fiction, which is like really overly sexual, or like it basically verges into erotica, suddenly you can market it at kids, And
you
so
can teach them to be submissive wives that will
and
do.
also because their brains aren't fully developed, like, that is just a literal fact. Like, they will take something that's simply written, like, and I'm not going to say it's badly written, although other people have said that. It's simply written. They will take that, but it's simply written. It fucking puts everything there on a plate. It doesn't require any dissection or any broader understanding, and it will become their favorite thing in the world. They make their life about it, and that all basically that chain reaction of, and it all happening in 2005 led to this movie being made 3 fucking years after this book came out, with like a multi-million-dollar budget, and then spawning a 5-movie series that kind of like for a while there was the biggest thing, out there.
Yeah.
And again, passed us by because obviously, like, we're men who were nearly 20 when this came out. Like, couldn't be further from the target audience of this movie.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Dave. I was going to jump in a couple of times, but it's that thing where, like you said, kids those days at that age, they're not fully developed. Those days, at that age. They're not fully developed. So they see this and they absorb that. And like, whilst it might seem silly, but kids are impressionable. And that is like what young girls will then think, that is how I should act in a relationship. That is how the counterpart should act in a relationship. So they think that they should be in relationships where basically their counterpart or their partner have this incredible amount of power or, a holding over them. And they think that's healthy. And that's why I said, like, I said it jokingly, but like, it really is. That's why I think like this is like a promo video for fucking grooming and for like,
daddy makes decisions, mummy makes decisions.
Yeah. Pat on the head.
That should be the database. That should be the database's plot description. Daddy makes decisions, mummy makes a sandwich.
Yeah, and then
it literally is. And
then 6 years later, 50 Shades. Hold on. 6 years later, 50 Shades of Grey comes out, and so all these 15-year-old girls are now in their, either late teens, early 20s,
yeah,
and are going, oh, okay, so
that's what sex is about. Interesting.
I've just upgraded to the masochism version of this.
And do you know what I was going to say? Well, at least there, it's a bit more thing of like where you have consent, but again, not so much because it's that power imbalance again.
And let's not forget, 50 Shades of Grey is Twilight fan fiction that was turned into fucking books, which is just like, wow. It's insulting.
You can't just have that as a throwaway. Sam.
It's insulting to content creators like us, right? Who are sitting plowing the fields of the podcast fields, trying to make an impact on society, trying to write, critically analyze the films that are important to us as a culture. And E.L. James has made millions and millions of dollars on Twilight fan fiction.
He's writing smut based on a shit film.
In 400 years' time, who's going to listen to the ripe old thesis of the comification of comedy? Who?
Exactly.
I weep for mankind.
It's you make a joking point, but actually, it really is quite an amazing. Like, we see this is how the industry works. This is how the industry works, and this is how, as well, I think the patriarchy works. In that, actually, they just can afford. We're going to gobble all of this up, and we're going to turn it into.
Jesus Christ, you could not have used a worse word.
Gobble gobble.
Fucking hell!
Like it's infecting my brain already.
Yeah.
Hey Ross, gonna just tie yourself up there a little bit while we.
Hey guys, pizza delivery here. Extra sausage.
Ross, you just brought it back to us being very old men.
Yeah, I was going for
pizza
BDSM.
Delivery, guys.
You're going.
Like anyone fucking orders pizza.
Hi, it's the Uber Eats guy here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're going for 80s.
I've got your
videotape
linguine that does not travel well.
Please leave a positive review on my Uber Eats profile. Thank you very much.
Oh, but I was only going to give you 2 stars. Well, let's see what we can do about that.
I think we just wrote a porn. Great.
Yeah.
Someone ring Big Porn and get this greenlit.
No, there we are, plowing the porno storyboard fields.
We have just proven that anyone can do this.
Yeah. But these are the ones who did. Now let's dive into this film, the plot of this, because it's again thinking about the target audience. We've got Bella Swan. I mean, the name straight away. It's just like, okay, all right, fine. It's a bit on the nose, it's a bit obvious, a bit kind of, but fine. We'll go for Bella Swan, and she's 17. She's having she's doing what actually is quite a difficult thing, in terms of the.
Well, she's a war orphan. It's very difficult.
Yeah, but seriously, think about it. Just try hold your cynicism back, just for 0.8 of a second.
Saying about the voiceovers we get at the very beginning.
The voice,
like a letter you're writing home from the fucking Shenandoah Valley.
She's having to leave Arizona. She's having to leave Arizona and go to this.
Because the Confederacy is
invaded. The summers in Arizona are treating you well. It's most cloudy here in Washington.
I hope the war ends soon. I cannot go on like this.
I shall pass on your best to father.
And she's a 17-year-old girl. It's
17.
so incongruous.
Writing a letter, not an email, text.
But
See you, Mum. We'll let you know when I get home safe.
It is a traumatic thing, though. It is a traumatic thing for a 17-year-old to be uprooted and move somewhere else. So, like, right, fine. That's the position we're starting from, and she's having to go to this new place, new people, new school. Like, that is a difficult thing for a 17-year-old to deal with. But the problem is that we're not really given any of like the context for what we get. Literally one scene where it's like, hey, the mom seems nice, the dad's a minor league baseball player, he seems nice, and then we're just gone, and we think, well, okay, so did she have any friends? Like, did she have anything? What do we know about her? Do we see any posters on her wall? Is she interested in things? Does she like football? Does she like ballet? What is the thing that she... Tell us about this character. We get absolutely nothing about who Bella Swan is, what motivates her, why we should care about her.
What do you want?
Right? And the reason for this, go back to the beginning, is because you've seen the film, you've read the book. So straight away, I just think from a point of view of like when you're writing your script for this, give us some fucking information. Like, tell us what's going on, because then when we land in shithole Cloud City, it's just, I just don't have any connection. I don't care about this character in a way that is... I know it's a Twilight film, but I'm trying to empathize. Why should I care about Bella Swan?
What could her backstory possibly give you that would be interesting or have any bearing on this plot?
Just tell us about her. Give us a scene where the cut scene from Star Wars where he's leaving Biggs at Toshi Station, and he's like, you know what I'm talking about, and he's like, oh, you'll have a great time. I'm going to the academy. I'm staying, but Luke's staying at home. He's got to look after the moisture farm for his uncle.
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, okay, so he wants to do stuff. Maybe Bella wanted to go to the drawing academy. Can she draw? Is she a drawer? Does she have anything? Literally give us one fucking fact about her that would like give us a bit of warmth, because there is absolutely no characterization from Kristen Stewart here. She's Academy Award nominated, by the way. She is a baffling mess in this film. Like, and I don't...
Also probably lends itself, Sam. Again, we're not a target audience, and I hate to keep disagreeing with you, not necessarily, but it probably also lends itself to why the book and the film were so successful, because she isn't a character. She is you.
She's Master Chief.
She is the reader. Do you know what I mean? She is that like blank canvas of an MP, an unvoiced protagonist in a video game. Like, and you can, as a teenage girl, I can only assume you can project yourself onto this woman because we know fuck all about her.
That's a good point. But maybe that's my problem, being not a teenage girl. I don't know. So then she gets to this absolute fucking dire place full of, oh god, people who are just so fucking friendly. I mean, please, for the love of Christ.
I will say, everyone is obsessed with this girl. Everyone in this town.
This waitress.
Hey, do you remember me? We met once when you were 3.
They're all inbred. That's why. They're all fucking each other. They all know one another.
Think about it. This waitress she's not that old. She's maybe like mid-20s odd. She's not been here since she was like 5 or 6 or something. So you think even the time scales don't work. This woman wouldn't even fucking remember. She would have been 14 and she's like so interested in this little snotty fucking kid. Like, no, it doesn't make... But anyway, and then we get to the high schoolness of it all. And I actually think the better parts of this is when we get like the gang, and they don't make any they don't give...
Yikes, Sam.
They don't give Bella Swan like any they don't try and make her be likable. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't make her connect with the gang.
Everyone likes her.
Everyone likes her. It's like, hi. And she's like, fuck you. I'm not even fucking talking. And you're like, again, you're totally unlikable. Do you want friends? Not really. All right.
Apparently, Sam, that's the secret to success in high school, is you just walk in like, get away from me, you creep. And then suddenly you have like 40 friends.
It's just...
The new guy's kind of hot. You just told me to go fuck myself.
He told me I should jump off the gorge. Wow, he's so
Ooh.
attractive.
Scott over there just told me to eat shit and die. I wonder who he's going to prom with.
Maybe we should warn him about the vampires. Nah, he'll figure it out. It's not that
It's a-
difficult.
The what?
Look at them.
Oh, those chiseled guys that are sparkling over there. Oh, okay.
You see those
think they're
40-year-old men in the
vampires?
corner who were all wearing eyeliner and lip gloss and like...
Who have these weird references to turn of the century things that we've never even heard of. Like,
Oh, yeah, you know the guys. They're wearing the ascots. Oh, the ascot wearing guys. The guy
ascot
in the
guys.
cloak.
Oh, are they
the one who
vampires?
keeps
Yeah,
talking
they're
about the
vampires.
Hindenburg
Like,
disaster. Like, why does he keep talking about the Hindenburg disaster? I don't even know what that is. Like, we've got 9/11 now. Update your references, Edward Cullen.
I thought he had a
damn it.
speech with him. I want to suck your blood.
We should
It's-
come
man,
back
now
to
I
it at
feel
the end,
bad.
But like, there are so many ways you could fix this movie and make it a classic. But we'll get into
I've
that.
got the
in a
best
minute.
one.
Let's come back because let's talk about Edward Cullen a second. Let's talk about our Pats.
Speaking
Now-
about characters with no characterization, hey guys, he's fast.
Just like Christian Stewart, he has been kind of redeemed, isn't he? Like he was very much look at the pretty guy punchy bag, and both of them I think were kind of I think they were kind of damaged by this movie in a lot of ways. Obviously, they made loads of money. They're all right, but I think reputationally,
My heart bleeds.
I know.
He played Batman last year.
Well, that's what I'm
I
saying.
think he's fine. I think
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that him, like Christian Stewart, who was nominated for an Academy Award, have developed, I think, and grown as actors and got better. And the reason that they're both shit in this, the reason they are both, I'm not even sure a plank of wood is the right description, is because they must have been told that the direction of this must have been, you need to be as awkward as absolute possible. You need to have absolutely no broad emotions. You need to basically not look at each other, and that's how we'll know that you're in love. Like it
That's
must
going back to the chaste, like very,
Yes.
very traditional values of the original source material, which is like, by all accounts, I've read some of the trivia, by the way, which is super troubling. The director apparently was like to Robert Pattinson, like, you need to watch yourself around this girl, or you're going to prison. Apparently that's a thing that we're saying, and it's apparently okay.
because
like-
Kristen Stewart was 17 when this was made. Is that right?
Yeah.
How
So
old was he?
22, 21, 22, something like that.
Oh.
I think he's 4 years older than her.
Does that work out? She was born in 1990. She's 32.
She's
now.
our age.
Yeah.
She'll have been 17 when they were filming this. Yeah, and he was born in 86, I think. But like, obviously, even if these people did have like chemistry, and we always talk about chemistry between actors on screen, and I don't think that it's, you can have chemistry with a 17-year-old when you're a 21-year-old. That's totally reasonable. But like, obviously, like you said, the direction is like, there's no sexual attraction here because obviously, apparently, Robert Pattinson had been warned he would go to prison if he tried anything. Like, and it just seems like
wonder
By
he's
the way, him and Kristen Stewart like went to the director's house and acted out the bed scene in her bed for her. That doesn't sound problematic at all, does it? Like, that's not weird. That's fine. Not on a set, not in a place with other adults and oversight. No, come to my house. No, don't worry about the cameras. Don't worry about the cameras. No, don't worry about the man masturbating in the corner. Don't worry about that. We're doing the scene.
You're a professional, right? Come on.
Do you want this job? Do you want this
Now
job?
I'm going to take my clothes off, but you guys just do the thing. It's just it's an experiment. Just go. It sounds super, super like you are right, Sam. Like the direction here was, we need to squeeze any kind of like objectionable contact in this movie out. And it's a very kind of basic look at like almost. I'm going to say a word here, and you're gonna set fire to me as a witch, like Shakespearean, and it's not, but it's like kind of like more on that kind of Romeo and Juliet, very
Yes.
pure, blissful,
And
like
yet,
idyllic love, but they
And
don't
yet-
sell it.
the film is chock full of fucking innuendo. Like the example, and Nicola pointed this out to me. She was like, "Wait for this." I was like, "What?" When Bella Swan walks into the classroom for the first time, and Edward's sitting at the table, and there's this wind the kind of
Yeah.
and the piece of paper on his desk just flaps up, like just goes erect, just complete, and you just think it's a second round of applause for this movie because you could not do that any better. And
yeah, but they do that, Sam, rather than have these two actual human people they've hired to work who can act by all accounts, given their later careers.
Academy Award
like,
nominated.
Act. Like
Yeah.
You are right. The direction must have been like,
and then this fucking scene. Oh my god, the scene when they're looking at in the microscope, and you just think, this is like should we be counting their blinks for Morse code? Because this is just an awful scene. Like, who did? Was this the first go? Did they do this more than once? Like, how many times did they do this? And somebody thought, this is great. This is great.
would it not have been better and sold it better if it's just like the accidental hand brush? Like, oh, sorry. And, more of that. And like let me show you. And, but they don't want to have that because they established later on that vampires are like
the
fucking
same beaker.
ice
Their hands
pops.
touch.
Because she touches his hand later in the car. He's like, oh, you're so cold. And I was like, all right, so they're also made of ice. So they're also made of ice.
Amy pointed this out
those
to me
guys
as
in the
well.
corner who are freezing like they're ice,
Yeah. So the guys that have literal like steam vapor coming off them on a hot summer's day. Yeah.
It's weird.
But Amy pointed this out to me as well because you have that scene in the car, like you pointed out, Dave, and I want to go back to that scene as well in a second. But they touch hands. Oh, your hand's cold. And then there's a scene later where they're sleeping in her bed, and she's sleeping away from. And next thing, she cuddles up to him. Right, this guy, remember, is supposed to be fucking freezing. Have you guys ever grabbed a block of ice in your sleep? I don't think you'd sleep through that. Like,
I've got I will say
we're paying attention here, movie. Are you?
When you flip the pillow over for the cold side of the pillow, maybe it's a bit like that.
Yeah. Refreshing.
Yes, but then your tongue sticks to the side of the pillow.
Again, that's far too sexual for this movie, Ross. Dial it back. Cool down. Cool off.
Again, because it has
not that way.
Because it has the sexual maturity of a 13-year-old girl. Like,
you nailed it.
Down to that, and
Dave,
it was written by a series of 13-year-old girls, seemingly.
Yes.
Dave, you nailed it. You nailed it at the start. Sorry, 2 seconds, Ross, because you said that the whole film is about the fact that Bella Swan is the sexual instigator. She's the one who's pressuring this poor 108-year-old man into
this man killer, this fucking man-killing, blood-drinking monster.
Who I swear to God has done this before. Every couple of years, he just goes, "Oh no, I'm so attracted just to you," and he exploits his maturity.
Oh, 100%. This is the line. Do you know what I mean? This is the
family scene could be like, Edward, I swear to God, if you kill this one and we have to move, I swear to God. I swear to God. Not again.
Guys.
There's only
not having another Ontario.
What do you take me for? Come on.
Fucking 5 times. Who would kill a girl 5? Who would kill 5 different girls in 5 separate years?
Times in the last 6 years, Ed. I swear to God, I'm sick of you.
Always bring it up. Nothing's forgotten.
Eddie. But the film...
Blah. Jewish vampires all of a sudden. I love it.
Something like that. No, don't.
We're just going to awkwardly laugh past that moment.
We're stopping. We're moving on. We're going to talk about the fact that Edward Cullen is a sexual predator all through this movie.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
And so as the film progresses, and as we see like this just horrible weirdness between them, and this insistence from Bella Swan that she's gonna fucking find out, that she knows there's something weird about about Edward, and there's something weird about this family, whose attempt to stay on the lowdown very poor as they sashay in to the launch hall every day with their immaculate white clothes, and as they drive in holding on the back of this Jeep.
Their favorite pastime is baseball, where they have to wait for a thunderstorm to play because they crack their bats so loud. This is a sport.
By the way, Second best scene in the whole movie.
Oh my god! If you mean
I
second
love that
best,
bit.
as in
I
the
love
second
that
best scene to rip to shreds.
What?
Oh, we're
But-
gonna play
Hey,
baseball.
no, it's incongruous with this film and it's stupid as fuck. But if this was a funnier film, that would be a great bit.
Yeah, which I think is your
Vampires
fix.
love baseball. I
think
like it.
I'm guessing, Dave, making this film funny is your fix. Don't tell us yet. Well, let's build it up for the audience who can skip ahead at any point because it's a podcast. But as all of this is going on, right? As all of this is going on, and they're starting to get a little bit more blah, blah, blah. And you know when you're watching a movie and you know it's a bad sign, things are starting to tick over in your brain, and you think, so these vampires have moved to Washington State because it's cloudy, because it's not very sunny. Okay. I mean, I guess I could look at the weather history for Washington State and see how cloudy it really is, but fine. No, I won't do that. I'll move on. But the point of them is to stay on the lowdown because they're vegetarian vampires, basically, and they don't want to attract
good vampires.
They're good vampires. Why are these people in school?
say.
Hold on. Why are these
say.
people? Why are these people in school? Why do they not just literally live on a farm and all they do all day is just like sustenance? They grow their own food.
Literally, the only reason, Sam, is to groom young women.
It's to groom.
Literally the only
This
reason.
is my. They all go there. They all hang out with a bunch of teenage girls and boys who they're like trying to avoid them and they're being dead awkward about it, but really they just want to go and like
beautiful cars. They rock up in like amazing,
flashy as shit all the time.
Yeah.
This guy's a fucking head of medicine at the fucking hospital. Like, I know they obviously need to they need to blend in somehow. But they don't need food. They don't need heating. They need nothing. They don't sleep. So what is the point of them? And this is where you like really just start to break down the foundations of the film, because I don't understand why Edward Cullen is in school other than to, once or twice a year pick up a 17-year-old. And
it feels like it's based on
cut her throat and drink it,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if they all look like 14-year-olds, you suddenly got like it's a blending in thing, because otherwise it's going to be like, well, why aren't these kids in school? Like, do you know what I mean? But even then, that's a stretch. But like you said, there's no reason. And when they're at the house and they've got graduation, the flag of graduation caps, there's like 400 graduation caps on this wall. And he's like, yeah, well, we've matriculated a lot. And I'm like, fuck off. So going to school and reading fucking the same Shakespeare novel every year and listening to the same trite fucking things.
I would kill myself if I had to hang around
with
17-year-olds.
The sun isn't out.
Yeah.
Every day of the year that it's cloudy.
You imagine, and again, this is not what 17-year-old girls are thinking, but it's what I'm thinking is, imagine having to hang out with a bunch of, you're 108. And you have to talk to teenagers all day.
Forget 108, guys. You're 28 and you have to speak to teenagers all day.
One of the things I pondered, when you think, when you look back in your life and you go, oh, if I could do that again, what would I have done? I was thinking, well, if I could live my my secondary school years. And then I came to the sort of the logical sort of conclusion was that, well, if I was going to do it all again, I wouldn't be doing it because, I'd need to somehow have the memory. So I'm like, okay, what if I'm me? Right, I'm Ross with my current experience, and I somehow to magically get my consciousness from now transported back into me when I'm 13 years old. And I actually thought that would be fucking like speaking to the people I spoke to in secondary school. Oh my god, I blow it up.
Secondary school, university, Ross, where we met. University, where we met.
Ross,
that would be
also,
speaking
you would be running the place. The place.
If
your adult brain and your cynicism.
Yeah. If I had the capability that I have now and the time of a teen, I could be fucking prime minister. I would be unstoppable. But so again, but then think about it. This is his life. Every year he does the same thing.
Yeah.
And how does it work?
Oh, where are you going to college? Oh, I'm going to fucking Seattle State. Where are you going, Edward?
Vampire you.
How does it work?
Sparkle.
He's in school for 15 years or whatever, right? How does it work? After 15 years, does he just go back? Is he permanently in year, you know,
what he
in
says,
his year? How
what
does
he
it work?
says is that basically because they still look the same, they can't like age and de-age. What he says is that they move somewhere new, and if they start school at like 14 or 15 at a fucking push, like then they can stay in that town for that many years, plus maybe another like 10 years afterwards before people start to say, hey, this dude's like looks the same. He's always like hanging around on rooftops at night. Like he's always following young women down the road.
Edward, you look
It's that hungry
fantastic.
look in his eyes.
Aren't you like 46?
Hey
Yeah,
man,
but-
where do you get your mascara? It really makes your eyes pop.
Yeah. Is that the keto diet? Is it?
Yeah. I just think
Paleo. Oh,
I just think
God.
eventually they'll be running out of places to go. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe west of Scotland would be a place if you want shit weather all the time to come. You know, just saying for Twilight #2, if you guys want to hang out here, it'll be fine. But I just, you know, and I know like we don't want to dive into Pedancast too much, but really the film does not do enough to explain away
You
these
don't
very
say.
simple questions. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Again,
What the
because
fuck?
it's kind of like, oh, but you'll be so taken in by this amazing love affair. It's like the prequels. It really is like the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
Of like because the direction's the same. Of like, you better not show any fucking emotions, or you are fired.
It's the classic George Lucas, faster and more intense. That's it, all he's got.
Yeah.
That's all he's got. And
And
that's
if you
actually
keep going
really
fast, then nobody will stop to think about all of this stupid stuff because they're still like, oh, he's so dreamy.
now
By the way,
that's pod racing.
do you think like also that they are all cartoonishly pale? Like cartoonishly pale.
The makeup.
Like pale, so pale that I couldn't help but not notice it all the time if that was a
But
person
that's
in
the
a
thing.
room.
Under
So
lipstick.
pale. Oh, that's Edward. Oh, hey, Edward. How's your iron deficiency coming along? I don't have an iron deficiency. Really? Have you been to the doctor? What's going on with your eyes, by the way?
Wow, you
Oh, it's
look.
a lovely day. Oh, you spark. Hey, bro, what's going on with your skin?
I'd
You got
get
diamond
yourself checked
skin.
out, man. I
Yeah.
mean, you might have some kind of tumor or something. Look at
Were
you.
you in fucking Chernobyl last week? What's going on with you?
Jesus. The thing that Nicola pointed out is like, so the makeup is very intense, and maybe if they made them just, especially the doctor, the dad, his makeup is like fucking. I can barely see you from your white
He
lab
was.
coat.
I want to suck your blood.
Exactly with the
Yes.
slick hair.
Yeah.
But Nicola
But, like,
pointed out that they
Just
only
have
do
a
it.
scene in the house where there's a fucking shelf full of fake tan. Like, just have that scene
Yeah, I
halfway
know.
through the
Five.
movie. and
Five
it's fine.
movies.
This is your
ah,
fix,
ah,
Dave.
ah,
I can
ah.
feel it. I can feel it coming. We'll get there in a second. But Nicola pointed out that they only really do the makeup up to the bottom of their necks. So their
like,
necks,
Pay for more makeup, Sam.
their necks are like weirdly normal, and their faces, and you just think again. I know in the book it probably says they're really pale, but this looks terrible. This looks terrible.
It's bad.
And-
it looks like they've used flour as well. It's not even like good makeup.
I know,
It
just
looks
threw
like
it
they put
at him
flour.
as he walks. Yeah.
Hey man,
Oh.
hey Edward, were you working in a
Action.
bakery again this morning? I was like, you got flour all over your face, man.
It's atrocious. Now, the reason that I think we're getting into this, the reason that we spent so much time thinking about the world that's been constructed is because there is no plot in this. Like there is nothing that happens. We have very, very later on in the movie, we have, oh, okay, so there's some adults are being killed by an animal. And everyone's like, animal attack? And everyone just goes, all right, fine. I'd be thinking, what kind of animal? Are there
Any
bears?
particular kind of creature?
Is there
we're talking
is there a lion on the loose?
Should
Like
I be
what's
on the lookout for something?
anyway? And there's these non-vegetarian, traditional trad
Old
vampires,
school.
yeah, who are vaguely threatening. I didn't really feel like that they were particularly good antagonists for this. Again,
I
it's
read
not really the
about
point.
trivia here. So in the book, obviously, like I think about 80% of the book is just Bella looking longingly at this guy. And then the bad vampires don't come in till the very, very end. And it's a very short, like they arrive, they fuck shit up, and then we resolve it. So in the movie, that's why it feels really disjointed. We get 2 or 3 scenes early on of those vampires not interacting with any of the characters in the movie. They're just off killing people, and it's the whole. But it's happening. It's very background, and that's an attempt. Didn't work an attempt to have this like underlying threat, which is going to disrupt the Cullen's life and all of that.
Yeah, I just don't think it works. I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. And when you're looking at this runtime, which is plus 2 hours, like think in your head, what are the main plot beats? She moves there. She meets the vampires. The vampires, Edward like reveals himself. Lots of faffing around with that baseball game. Exactly. And then the movie turns on a little bit then, because we got this tracker he's the most sexually lustful,
charged.
Like he's gonna, what the fuck is this guy?
It's your classic story, Sam. Boy meets girl, boy stalks girl, boy saves girl from rapists.
So romantic.
Boy has cold
takes
skin.
girl home to
Boy
meet
doesn't have
boys
cold skin.
Coven. Boy takes girl jumping through the trees. Boy takes girl to vampire baseball game. Boy has sister take girl to.
All right, you stop now. You can stop. But
the Nevada desert or something.
Yeah, you can see. You can see.
Got 7 more of these. So.
I could keep going on, but I've forgotten what happens. I was like, what happens?
Dave,
then?
come on! How could you forget? It's a story as old as time. Boy's sister,
then they're in the
girl,
car, and then they're in the hotel room for some reason, and then they're in the Hall of Mirrors. I don't know why, and it's all very confusing.
And the last like 30, 40, it's about half an hour, isn't it? I think is purely just held up as like, so there's this tracker guy, and we need to run back to Arizona for some reason, I guess. Like, okay.
Do you know what I was thinking at this exact moment? I stopped, paused, and you're right, Sam, about half an hour left, and looked at the runtime, and I was like, if I'm lucky, the credits will be 10 minutes long. So I've only got 20 minutes left of this.
Wow, big catering crew on this. Look at that. Oh, look, it's that guy. I remember him. Yeah. Didn't he cater
props?
Casino Royale.
I wonder how you get into props. I wonder
what is a best boy. That's I'm going to Google that right now. Like,
is there a best girl?
Yeah.
Did I miss her? Rewind.
Patriarchy.
There's just so much. There's just so much. And that's the thing, is like, if we had, maybe we have a prologue at the beginning to say there was, vampires used to be, they were hunted into extinction. And then there was all these stories created in popular myth and that's where our vampire stories come from. And then, but to try and protect themselves, a breakaway group said, we're going to not hunt humans anymore, but there are still lurking, these nomadic ones who are going to, like, give us a bit of context. So actually, when these guys turn up, you think, there is a bit of a threat. We understand the context. We understand the story here. These guys are kind of opposed to each other. They're very polite to each other. They're very, I'm very sorry for intruding onto your land. I
do declare, sir.
Until the wind blows and they smell her neck.
Is to get the vampire, get the bad vampires out of there, and just have it be a vampire hunter, and then he's the baddie, and then it's like he wants to kill the vampires, and then we maybe have like a thing where we don't damsel this woman who is thus far being the instigator of the whole movie, and then in the final act is literally just damseled. She gets driven to fucking Arizona, then she gets her leg snapped on camcorder, and then she lies on the floor bleeding for the rest of the movie. That's it. That's the plot.
She gets bit. Something.
It's a whole thing.
She's unbit. Then they suck out the vampire poison.
There's some sucking going on, but it's not sexual because, of course, we can't have that in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, my fix is
the dad's there, so it's totally fine. There's an adult present.
There's consent. My fix is very, very similar to yours, Dave. And my
wasn't my fix. But go on.
Well, my fix is. This is now, Sam. I know you're not going to like this, but this is the Marvel crossover movie we all needed. This is where you want Blade to come in. You know that scene where he first like exposes himself to Bella? I'm a predator. I do all this. What you want then is like you just see like a flying like shuriken, like cuts off his hand. And then Blade comes out, whips off his sunglasses, says something cool, flying karate kick. And then it's just a series of martial arts fights throughout the rest of the movie.
I love it, Ross. I've got.
Oh,
I'm
this
just
could have
one
done with a
note.
sexy nightclub scene. I will say. It
Just
really
one
would have
note, though.
benefited from a sexy
Well,
nightclub
no,
scene.
go for it. Go for
The
it.
shot is that he revealed himself as the vamp, and then all we hear is thing,
Yes.
and
yes.
Edward Cullen's head just
An angle.
just slowly slides diagonally in
Ooh,
opposite
like
directions
Equilibrium. Is
for
it
the audience.
Equilibrium that does it in that in?
And then,
Yeah.
and then Wesley Snipes says that iconic line, "Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill." Bang, dead. Boom. Blades, fucking
Totally
guns.
out of context.
Yeah, out of context.
And then
You are right,
know
Ross.
it's-
This movie would be immeasurably fixed if after 35 minutes it became a Blade movie.
Right?
all these traumatized 13-year-old girls, like, oh my god,
Yeah.
what have they done to my boyfriend? It's
my-
go on. In
my
fact,
fix
Dave,
is like-
Dave,
it's like-
here we go. I want
My fix was-
you've been teasing this, and I want to
Let me
hear.
talk.
You
I am
tease.
but I want to build up because
You're a total Edward, Dave. Go on.
I believe in your ability to fix this movie, right? But it cannot be an 80s teen romp. That's all I'm saying. I'm just
That's
I'm
fine,
just
it's
gonna
fine.
And it can't be Blade
So-
because that's my idea.
That's okay, Ross. You're safe on that one. Although sexy nightclub, I feel like I'm going to put that in there somewhere.
in your fan
Maybe like an opening scene in my fanfic. Fucking, it's as good as 50 Shades of Grey. If I can do it, why can't I? I can write smut.
Soon enough, it'll just be you and I toiling the field, Sam.
left behind.
Oh, I'm desperate to sell out.
Millions.
Desperate. I'll take you guys with me. You can be my best boy, Ross. Sam, I don't know if you can be. I don't know.
I don't
a
think
grip?
I'm. So,
You
I
can be a
don't,
grip.
You'll be my cave boy, Sam. My grip. That's even better.
Actual thing in the
Firmer.
movie, just to be clear.
Firmer.
as is the best boy.
Anyway, my fix.
No, we're not moving on from that just yet.
is-
I'm
I've
trying
got a
to.
lot more laughs to come out.
Grip.
Oh, this movie has ruined us. This movie has ruined us.
It's a deeply stupid movie. It's-
Right, help us get back on the train of critical analysis. Go.
So my fix for this
Due
movie
to-
kind of involves like you kind of need to strip out all of the really awkward kind of like, oh, I love him. We've only had 4 conversations, but I love him. We
He
need to
likes
get rid of that.
football
right?
too. Yeah.
Now, I don't want this to be like an 80s spoof movie. What I would like it to be is more in the vein of like, I want you to think of Mean Girls, right?
Mhm.
I want you to think of very similar premise, you know? She goes to a new school where she must kill the head vampire. No, so she goes to the school, but like it's a new school, we get a bit more characterization. She's there, she's lost, she doesn't know what's going on. And like the Cullens are just the goth kids. Like you
Mhm.
lean into it, they're just goth kids. And then it's this mystery about like, hey, what's up with those goth kids? Where do they always go? And she's just like a Nancy Drew. She's really curious. So she's like following them home and watching them through the window and they're doing odd things. And she's like, this is really odd. And then you just lean into the fact that them in the real, you don't make it a spoof as such, but you lean into the fact that the family life, the dinner scene in that movie is really fucking funny. Like in the actual Twilight movie, where she goes round for dinner. That's a hilarious scene in a movie. The context is so stupid. It's so silly. These are blood-sucking vampires. Some of them are 300 years old and they're making pasta. It's so stupid. It's so gloriously stupid. And I bet they didn't think it was because it'd be from the book. But like, I want more of that. I want more of like the Addams family, but it's not. It's this like vegetarian vampire family. But you get like half the movie is just Edward, like she's talking to him and he's just looking at her neck. Like because he can't stop himself. He's like, oh, no, it's okay. I'm listening. No, he's like, oh, look at that neck, yeah. But like, I just want it to be sillier. Like, if you make it sillier, suddenly I'm enjoying myself. Like the baseball scene as well. Like in the context of this movie, is like so offensively stupid. It's like it takes all of the stuff it's asked you to accept, and then it's like, yeah, now we're gonna play fucking baseball with that. Like, that'd be cool. And it's like in this movie, in this Romeo and Juliet, but with vampires movie.
I see scenes like that, and I'm thinking, God, how do the actors feel like when they do the script, and then they all played baseball? What? What?
Ironically, though, I think
All
this
right,
is
no, it's the
probably-
baseball scene, guys. Get in costume. Really?
Ironically, I think that was probably the most fun scene in the movie to film. I guarantee you, because like, it's so stupid. The effects aren't great, but they're fine. Like, and that she's like, "Oh, you get to be the umpire because we're fucking vampires," and it's just silly. It's so silly. It's so and do you know what? If the whole movie was like that,
hang on, isn't the umpire the one that catches the ball?
not in this fucking
No,
game, she isn't.
No, that's a different thing. There's like a backstop, I guess, in cricket, isn't it? But right,
Okay,
I
sorry, go ahead.
like this, Dave. I like this. I think this is a better movie for us, and that is the thing, isn't it? Is that when you actually when you and your ideas, Ross, as well, and probably
Thanks.
no, I'm saying all of our ideas collectively, mash them together. It's a shit movie, but it's a different movie.
But the alternative to that, just very quickly, the alternative to that is age these characters up, have it be college, or fucking make them adults. My God, if you can imagine,
Yeah.
right? And then you put some sex in it, and suddenly it's a different movie.
I've got
You
it.
know,
Blade, the younger years.
Blade the college years. Love it.
Yeah.
that crusty old dean, he's a vampire.
Blade.
You're going to be expelled.
Oh
Blade
my God,
joins
it's those
the,
drops from Kappa Beta Vampire.
Yeah, he joins a fraternity, but not the cool one. And they manage to get it up on those rich kids.
All the dorks are vampire hunters. All the cool kids are vampires.
Oh my God. What an idea. If only we had an ounce of creativity among us, this would be fucking brilliant. Well, this would be brilliant.
Blade with like those square taped together glasses, like.
And then he learns. Oh my God, this is actually a fucking great idea.
He looks like Urkel.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he learns to be the Blade that we know, the kick-ass Blade.
He finds his groove. He finds his groove.
Mostly because
Like
he's
a
getting to beat.
Rocky-esque gym montage.
This
Ooh, I'm into this.
would be a great comic. This would be a great comic. Someone phone Marvel. Get Marvel on the phone. So
Seemingly
all of
they
these
will
ideas,
greenlight or buy anything. So
Yeah.
I think we're set on that one.
all of these ideas are good. All of these ideas will make, I think, a better, funner movie for us, and we would be like, cool. It's like it's a twist on this, and we're referencing this thing, and we're adapting the. But the reason this film is so fucking successful is because it is so self-serious. It is so self-serious that teenage girls like it. And that is the genius of it, really. When you break it down.
You remember what hormones were like?
Exactly.
Like every single emotion you felt as a teenager was the most important thing in the entire world in that
And it
moment.
was real, and it was
And
intense.
this is that the movie.
Yeah. And so when I think, again, trying to critical analysis, trying to really actually break down why this film is successful is because it believes its own hype, and it is so invested in the story, in the attempt at storytelling, because it's self-serious. And that is something that I think is a problem with movies that are so wrapped up in their own world that we don't ever get to explore the fun side. Like the most fun they have in this is this weird baseball scene. The rest of it is just fucking dire Washington State scenery and clouds and everyone struggling to, pull faces. And yet, despite all of the ideas that we've got, if you introduce even one of them, you were going to ruin this movie for what it is, which is a teen fantasy romp. And
Hey Bella, I got into Vampire You.
Oh no, what will happen? Will their love stay strong, or will the distance break them apart? Oh no, here comes another sexy 17-year-old for this guy to lust over. Oh no, what's going to happen
Chomp.
next?
I don't know if we can have a long distance relationship with me going to university in New York State and you going to university in Transylvania.
That's the joke of the episode.
Who's
Well
the
done,
new
Dave.
foreign exchange student? Oh, Mr. Helsing. Van Helsing.
No, it's a mathematics professor. He's like, Von!
Professor Helsing.
Do! I wish that guy would stop doing that. It's really hard to pay attention.
Also,
This guy fucking loves math.
this is college level maths. We can count, like we don't need.
Do you know he used to be a children's TV star?
Attention.
This is why we're not allowed to make movies. This is why.
At least 3 people will find it funny.
Yeah. Yeah, at least 3.
At least.
Also, I'd limit that at 3 as well.
Not
I'd say that's the
guaranteed.
cap.
Not guaranteed to 3 people though.
That's the cap. So how many more movies after this do we get? Because I think you've seen them all, Ross, and my wife is threatening
There's 4.
to make me watch them
Which
as
one's
well.
the one where you've got the sexy werewolf and he cuts his hair? He's in this movie, but he's not a werewolf. For some reason.
that's the
even
other
though, even though,
fucking paying attention with this, I think I'm.
Did anyone
that's
else?
the one I've seen, and I was right, you get all the werewolf guys, and they're all like fucking cut, and they're running around in shorts.
Just feel really uncomfortable by the fact that the werewolves are like Native Americans and they live on a reservation, and you're like, no.
I tell you who did feel uncomfortable: the literal American tribe that they stole the name for this movie.
Wow,
they've come out quite strongly against this.
Wow,
Yikes.
like do they have to be werewolves? Like, is that okay? Okay.
Well, they do, Sam, because they use a sledgehammer in this movie to be like, some say we're descended from wolves. And then later on, he's like,
right at the camera.
Later on, Edward says, the very last scene of the movie
mostly
is like,
descended from wolves. Mostly.
I leave you for 2 minutes and the wolves descend. And it's like,
I know.
fucking sequel! It's Werewolf University!
Mustache twirl.
And eventually they become, and that's, I mean, this is the bit that I do know about, is that there is this horrible, Team Edward, Team Werewolf, Jacob.
Yeah.
And again, in between, here's the autonomy of this woman.
Define herself by.
Like, it is, and you just think that it's such a questionable thing. Now, if you had a teenage daughter, you would be really looking at this movie and going, okay, I mean, I can't stop you from watching it, but we're going to have a conversation about it, because you won't know how fucked it is until you're at least 25, but it's fucked. It's absolutely fucked, and this is not good.
Is that men are literally vampires. Like, in the context of this movie, all men are vampires.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need to snare them. That's what the movie says.
This was a very troubling watch. Also, like I said, it's so long, and I don't even mean like 2 hours is long for a movie generally, but like it's needlessly long. The first hour, I think it's an hour before the movie says he's a vampire.
That baseball
explicitly.
scene, I thought, what is happening right now?
Honestly, like I said, my favorite scene of the movie. Because
will
my
say-
brain was like, oh,
will
I would
say-
watch a vampire baseball movie. I'd watch a vampire baseball scene.
It's
like,
my
that
first
could be
time.
fun.
It's my first time seeing a baseball scene in a vampire movie. So you know what? Credit where credit's due. You guys did that.
You did something. Well done.
You could have a teen wolf type movie with Edward
That's
Cullen
what they should put in the DVD
playing
box.
baseball.
It's something, I guess.
You're
But he
the
can't
team.
play in
Shut
the
up.
sunlight. He can only play at night. There's a
Oh,
movie.
There's so many trouble things. I think we should. You know what we should do? We should
Never watch
pick-
any of these.
No, hold on. We should just pick a random one. We should put it into a randomizer, and not the next one, because I don't care for the story. What I care about is it the same type of movie? Like, is Twilight, New Dawn, 7, whatever?
Random. Much like putting the bullet into the chamber and spinning it. Random.
Just see, because I think it'd be interesting to see if the same themes occur, or whether or not they basically just develop. Like, now we've got a plot, now we've got backstory, now we're going to try and inject
certainly know
some mysticism
the
into
second one,
this.
They changed the director for the second one.
Yeah, and
I
does it
certainly-
turn from a teen
I remember
movie
it being
into
a lot more
don't-
well lit as well.
I
Like,
don't
this
know
is
if it
quite
happened-
obviously like washed out.
Yeah,
I don't know if it happens in the second one, but they eventually get married. They bang.
Right.
She
What,
gets
in
pregnant.
a church or under God?
on
till
the honeymoon.
It was part
Oh,
till Van Helsing stabs you in the night.
hold on.
Wait. They bang on their honeymoon, Dave. Just to answer your
nice,
question.
nice.
And then the next day, she's got bruises. And then he's like, and then he's all remorseful. She's like, "Oh, I want to do it again."
Because you
And again,
can't-
I'm like,
because
"This
he
is
can't
not
control
This is
himself.
not healthy.
So-
This is not."
so he's
Because he
like-
can't
he's
control
like,
himself.
he wakes up the
Shut
next
the fuck
morning
up!
and
Shut
he's
the
like,
fuck up! Wait! I'm not done. And then she's pregnant, but the fetus grows at like an alarming rate. And then, like, it nearly kills her. Like, you know, her, like, they had like special makeup effects and all, where she's gaunt. This creature is like draining her, so she ends up drinking blood. She's not a vampire. She ends up drinking blood. Childbirth kills her. Edward bites her. She becomes a vampire, and then we're into the next movie. Then where basically these vampire cults. You know, this sort of stuff you love, Sam. Where basically there's lore now apparently, and apparently they think that the child is something it's not, and the thing that they think it is called an immortal child or an endless child, which is not allowed because children can't control their emotions and they can go on killing sprees. And there's this big epic battle where the werewolves team up with the good vampires to fight the bad vampires. It's fucking horrendous, Sam. Please don't make
this
me do it
sounds
again.
like it's absolutely just stolen from everything. Because there's that Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt movie with a child vampire, and that's the story. And that's from
Interview with the
fucking
Vampire.
90s.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and there's the Underworld films are all about like, oh, there's factions but like, here's the thing: you were saying about she wakes up with bruises, and he's like, "Oh no, did I accidentally beat the living shit out of you? Oh no!
Did I do that?
Oh babe, I'd never hurt you again. That's domestic abuse."
Yeah, you know what happens when you annoy me.
You know what? Just simply the imagery. Just simply
Mummy makes a
simply
sandwich.
simply the imagery of them of someone writing and then making a movie and then putting on screen and the makeup people of literally bruising Kristen Stewart. Like, that is just a staggeringly irresponsible thing to do, isn't it? To normalize, you know, like
It's a lot.
It
pain
glorifies
in sex for young
Can I
women
ask you,
is
Ross,
just
what
awful.
What are the werewolves
Awful.
doing?
Oh, who cares? Who fucking cares?
You can't tell me what the werewolves are
What the
doing in
werewolves
this
doing?
movie.
What's
Let's
that
shut it down.
waitress doing that fucking noticed her in the first movie? What's she up to now? Let's
I
fucking
feel like,
focus
I feel
on
like
her.
the
a bit.
werewolves are a bigger part of the movies than the waitress who remembers her from being a
No,
kid. I could be wrong.
It's honestly,
she?
screen time. It's probably
Oh,
very, very limited. I think between the young werewolf, but I think, you know, it's such a frustrating film. It's such a frustrating film, and when you actually dive into a movie like this, you just end up feeling tired. Like, afterwards, I just felt exhausted.
You're
I just
tired
felt
of the rage.
absolutely exhausted by the fact that we have to delve into this. So I think you're right, Ross. Let's not do another one. Unless you piss me off, and then I'll be picking it as a form of retribution. So just
You know, they're doing like
make sure you go to my
a
Patreon.
second Snyder cut of Justice League, right, Sam?
This one's 18 hours long, and it's
7
just
days
Zack
long.
Snyder talking you through what he'd have done with storyboards if he'd been allowed.
Oh, I bet there's commentaries. I bet there's a 4-hour commentary we could watch. Jesus. Jesus.
Speaking of, Thor: Love and Thunder is out in September on Disney Plus for free.
Is that a film or is that a TV show?
The new Thor film. The one that's out.
That's why I asked you. Is it a film? Oh, it's a film. Excellent.
We're gonna have to get your young ones on this podcast, Sam.
I
Keep
do.
this shit up.
I mean, I'll try. I'll try and be interested in this. I will try. I'll do my best.
This is my interested face.
I'm trying to be.
What did he give us shit about earlier, Ross, for not being excited about?
Ghost
Recon. We're not excited about a shit game that was poorly reviewed when it came out.
already tried, and like, yay, goody!
I don't ask. I'm not suggesting that I'm at all equal or fair in my disdain. So you guys
that would be the height of hypocrisy.
Exactly.
I thought it was rich where Sam's criticizing our enthusiasm, the most fucking loosey goosey, bendy, wavy, fucking will not commit to anything. Jordan,
that is my actual middle name, Ross. That's good. Well done. Nice.
No bother.
Thanks as hell.
Well, we'll be back next week with something extremely better than this, and that's a firm guarantee. I'm not sure what it is.
Whose
confident. Whose pick is it? Technically, Ross picked this. So
I'm pretty sure this is
technically,
my
must be
pick. I've been trying to get us to watch something
You
good
pick,
for.
you picked Doom, Sam.
You know what?
I
Sam,
picked Dune
you
for
weren't
you.
on the
I wasn't
episode.
there.
guys,
You weren't on the episode, but you were the one who suggested it, and that means it's my pick.
but you confirmed it, Dave. So that's your pick.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works for us.
We'll take this offline, and I'm gonna win. That's how it's gonna work.
I think this would make a great podcast. I don't think you want to.
Fight.
Yeah. I mean, just to put it out there, I've never seen Godfather.
Talk about
That's
2 hour plus movies, Ross. Jesus.
Okay, fair enough. Whatever.
How long have you got?
Great
We'll
movie,
see.
though. Great movie.
We'll see. All right.
Yeah, we've ended it.